This is me, and this is our target. Tzkal-Zuk. The only issue? To get a shot at Zuk, we'll first need to make it through an endless onslaught of waves, all boasting some of RuneScape's most dangerous enemies. Welcome to my fully documented journey inside RuneScape's Inferno. Hello all, and welcome to my definitive experience inside of the Inferno. I'm assuming most of you are already avid OSRS players, so you probably already know what the Inferno is. But do you really know what it's like to be in there for the first time? Drawn by that insatiable appetite to obtain the beautiful and elusive Infernal cape, the best cape slot item across all of Gielinor, and the ultimate drip piece. Well, welcome to this video. Here you'll find my documented experience inside of the Inferno, the emotional highs and lows, what makes the Inferno so difficult, and what it feels like to finally triumph over such an unforgiving challenge. Seasoned veterans of RuneScape already understand what makes the game tick. If you're in that category, feel free to skip to the next chapter where we start talking about my experience. However, I do have some pretty funky takes, and I will make this interesting. So, for those who want to know, you can basically plot all of RuneScape's combat systems on a number line. That's because every action in this game is dictated by how often the server registers and receives information. Old school RuneScape is very old, so the servers only update every 0.6 seconds, meaning our tick rate is 0.6 ticks per second. You may have heard similar terminology if you play other games. For example, the standard server tick rate for CSGO is 60 ticks per second, which is literally 10 times more than RuneScape's. Wait, what? Which is literally 100 times faster than RuneScape's. I won't get into all the details here, but most importantly for us, OSRS's attack speeds for both you and enemies are dictated by how many ticks there are in between each attack. Most enemies and weapons attack on a 4-tick cycle. There are some notable exceptions to this, one such being the toxic blowpipe, which attacks every 2 ticks. Next up is protection prayers. We have mage, range, and melee. You're going to be getting attacked by all 3 styles during the Inferno's waves. Here are the monsters and what each of them attacks with. Except blobs. Fuck blobs. We'll get to the blobs later. Each enemy can hit very hard, especially mages. They pretty consistently hit in the 70s. At least that's what it feels like. You miss a prayer and boom, 3/4 of your health is gone. Anyway, it's imperative that you have the correct protection prayer up when an enemy registers an attack. If you did the thing, you take no damage. If you didn't do the thing, you're probably gonna die. Bam, boom. Oh my god. So in other words, it's like a parry system in any game. You react to the stimulus with the correct action at the correct time, and you are rewarded by not dying. The Inferno's whole design is pretty similar to that of a From Software game. You could even say the Inferno is the Dark Souls of RuneScape. Here's my funky take. This bank right here is our bonfire, where we refill our Estus supplies, which, like an Estus flask, dictates how many mistakes you'll be allowed to make during the Inferno's waves. If you had to heal too much or had your prayer on for too long, you're dead. Start again. So, waves 67, 68, and 69 are your boss waves in the Inferno. Waves 1 to 66 themselves are representative of that exploratory phase as you enter a new area. In Dark Souls, for instance, think back to the firebomb throwers in Undeadburg, the hog thing, or the Black Knight at the top of the staircase, or the one protecting the chest. All of these things will absolutely destroy you at first until you learn to overcome them. You'll feel the same development in the Inferno. As you slowly get better, you struggle less on earlier waves and start approaching later waves with more and more supplies, until you finally make it to the boss waves with supplies to spare, making it all the more likely you'll conquer that final challenge. You can even make comparisons in the way these games handle combat. Hear me out. I'm going to use Sekiro specifically, and the Genichiro fight in particular for this example. You've probably heard other nerds on the internet call Sekiro and OSRS rhythm games. And to be honest, they're not wrong. You continue to learn attack rhythms and what defense to use in any given situation until you finally got it down. Once you do, you win. Here's the comparison. He does a basic attack, you parry. He does a thrusting attack, you dodge toward him to counter. He does a sweep, you jump. Now, full disclosure, there's no single enemy inside of the Inferno that's going to push you as far as this fight does. However, especially on later waves, when you have all the different enemy types combined, you honestly end up with a pretty similar situation. The melee monster is rolled up on you, so you pray against melee. The ranger is now attacking you, so you pray against ranged, and then the major is up next, so you pray against mage. You repeat this entire process, making sure every enemy is off tick until all of them are dead. Naturally, there's still plenty of room for mastery. Incorporating movement between your prayer switches, special attacks to maximize DPS, incorporating gear switches to make sure you're using the correct attack against given enemies, and chugging supplies when you need to, all add to the difficulty. Each of the mechanics you learn culminate in the Inferno's final boss fight against Tzkal-Zuk. He's the fella you saw in the intro. Here you'll need tight movement, great gear and prayer switches, a good mind for resource management, and on top of all that, it's a race against the clock. You know, it's hard to believe that a game where combat looks like this could be so difficult, but it is. And if you don't believe me, try it. I've beaten almost every game From Software has created, and I have never been pushed as hard as I was trying to get my first Inferno clear. Alright. Now that I've effectively anchored the comments, let's move on to my experience. But real quick, if you actually watch this part and you agree with me, make a stupid comment that somehow relates Dark Souls to RuneScape. I'll read all of them, and I appreciate it. Okay, my first attempt, I died on wave 7. Blobs. Am I right? Other than that, I learned mostly by doing. On my first night, I actually made it all the way to wave 31. Eventually. Doing so means that I kind of figured out the way blobs work, but I was generally relying on alternating, which is switching your prayer from mage to range every tick. So, the number line's about to appear, blobs read your prayer on the 3rd tick after they see you, and then 3 ticks later on the 6th tick, they will attack you with the opposite style. Let's visually represent this. Pray range and step out from behind the pillar. On the next tick, switch to mage prayer. On the next tick, back to ranged, and then keep going until the blob is dead. By doing this, you're essentially cheating the system. Alternating makes sure that you will always be praying a different prayer than you were 3 ticks ago, meaning you'll always be safe from the blob's attacks. Now, once I was confident with that, I learned the 2-tick flick. This technique is essentially the same thing as alternating, but instead, you switch your prayer every 2 ticks instead of every tick. This sounded easy in my head, but using this technique was far harder than it seemed, mainly because I had to learn the rhythm. Fucking rhythm game. You see, when alternating, you don't really need to think about timing, but the 2-tick flick requires a much deeper understanding of how long a tick actually is. There's also less room for error, because if you accidentally switch too early or too late, you'll mess up the whole cycle and you'll be taking a hit the next time the blob attacks. 1, 2, 1, 2. I had the 2-tick flick down after about a week or so, probably because I found a visual metronome that also doubles as a true tile and triples as a disco simulator. And depending on who you are, you may be thinking to yourself, well, Scrub had to use a metronome. But as a functioning member of society, I prefer to maintain my sanity over counting to 4 for hours on end. The final hurdle for me in this phase of my journey was learning how to defend against a blob and another enemy at the same time. Thankfully, it's relatively easy to get this down after you get over the stress of it all, but in the case of a pillar stack like the one you see here, you just need to step out praying against the bigger monster. If it's a ranger, you pray ranged, or if it's a major, you pray mage. After you've stepped out, start alternating on the same tick they register their attack. For a major, you'll see flashing lights under it, and for a ranger, they'll bend over. If you timed it correctly, you'll be defending against both monsters and won't have to worry. You want to kill the bigger one first, generally. Otherwise, if you kill the blob, you'll have to deal with the bloblets, while the other one's attacking you, and it's just a bit of a nightmare. The last extremely important thing to learn is safe spotting. It took me a while to learn all the funky melee safe spots. These are most notably here, 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 and here. Some of them require a bit of setup, but you'll be seeing it on screen. I cannot stress enough, but learning these will make it much easier to take out meleeers early in the waves. Doing so generally lowers the stress level in a wave by quite a large margin and makes it far easier to solve. Other than that, these 2 corners on the north pillar are amazing. If a monster you don't like is rolling up on the sides of the pillar, you just stand on the corner adjacent to them, and they physically cannot walk around and hit you. Fucking complete safety. It's crazy. They'll just sit there and stare at you. So naturally, at this point, I was obsessed with the Inferno. I had just started, I had made good progress, and I was keen to keep progressing more. But little did I know, past wave 31, it gets much, much more difficult. So now that I had learned all the tools I needed, I felt like I really could conquer the Inferno for the first time. This feeling was misplaced, however. There were times I made it well into the 50s, and other days I physically could not get halfway. Generally, I found myself getting stuck on waves 31 and 48. These waves are the exact same, however on 48 there is a major in place of a ranger on wave 31. The layout for these waves is 2 blobs, a melee, and a range or mage depending on which wave you're on. Functionally, when you're in the wave, all you have to do is safe spot the melee while praying against other enemies and make sure that melee dies. Once it's dead, you can kill the remaining enemies slowly and you should be fine. But naturally, it's a lot harder when you're in it. In my own personal experience, any wave that has 2 blobs and a melee in it are difficult, and having 2 blobs on the field means they take up way more space and make it severely more difficult to safe spot a melee. There were also a lot of times on these waves where I found myself safe from blobs, but instead had to flick against a melee and a major or ranger, which is very dangerous if you mess up. See here, it no word of a lie took me a month to be comfortable on these waves and clear them relatively consistently, although any sort of fuck up in my execution or decision making leads to death most of the time, so I didn't always make it through. There was also this ever looming sense of dread as you approach 31 and 48, because you've already got that time investment to get to them in the first place, and you know deep down there's a pretty strong chance you're going to die when you reach them. The silver lining in all of this is that when you actually do get past them, it's extremely exciting. You can see my gameplay when I beat 31 for the first time here. There's no face cam sadly, but I think the mouse movement speaks for itself. As I got better at them and started to see those higher waves more consistently, I began to feel reignited and started reclaiming that feeling of an impending Inferno clear. Alright, this is where it starts to get crazy. Wave 49 is completely free, thankfully. Just 2 melees and a major. From 49 onwards, we find ourselves in some spicy waves. Basically, every wave from here on has both a major and a ranger in them at the same time. This means that defense becomes paramount. At the beginning of any given wave, you could be getting attacked by both the major and the ranger on the tick they spawn in. Naturally, you can't defend from both of them at the same time, so you're gonna tank at least 1 hit from one of them. In practice, all that really means is you equip a crystal shield or whatever is the best that you can afford. For me, it was a crystal shield. And pray Rigor or Augury at the start of every wave for the defense boost. This will help mitigate any unforeseen damage you've been exposed to. These waves also introduced what is by far the most stressful version of alternating: a ranged and major stack. Take a look. Here you have to start from a specific tile. Pray against the monster at the back, and as you run out, the monster in the back will attack first. Switch your prayer to defend against the monster in the front. Switch back to pray against the monster in the back, and when it does, start alternating. If you did all that correctly, you'll be safe from both monsters. So in a situation where you want to kill the front monster first, it's essentially the same thing, but in that little gap between the front monster attacking and the back monster attacking a second time, click on the front monster. After that, it is the exact same process. So I don't know if this sounds easy to you or not, but if you mess up the timing, or you start from the wrong tile, or you fuck up your alternate halfway through, it almost certainly means death, because you'll be tanking a hit from both the major and the ranger, depending on if you were praying against one of them or not when they attacked, but you probably weren't. Now, naturally, because I am gamer god, this has never happened to me. Regardless though, waves 49 to 59 are particularly difficult in the face of everything that's about to come. The real challenge is in the final push. Fuck these waves. These waves were by far the worst part of the Inferno for me. Here's why. Wave 60. Blob, melee, range, mage. Wave 63. 2 blobs. Melee, range, mage. Wave 65. 2 rangers and a major. You get the point, it's hard. The worst of the bunch in my experience is wave 63, and a lot of nerds on the internet will say the same thing. Having 2 blobs on the screen, as well as the full suite of other enemies, means you're almost always going to start this wave having to defend against 2 or 3 different enemy types, while also attempting to safe spot the meleeers. You need to think extremely quickly off spawn to stay ahead of the AI, and not immediately get your health blasted by 2 or 3 big hits. The focus is to immediately safe spot as many enemies as possible and only defend against 1 or 2 while making sure they're also off tick so it's actually possible. Not to mention, I was also kinda using budget gear. I wasn't bringing tank armor either. People have definitely done the Inferno in worse, but I was rolling around with a Bofu and crystal armor with an uncharged nightmare stuff. In hindsight, I'm happy I did the Inferno when I did. The lack of tank gear meant I had to just get better at the game, get better at flicking and realizing when I had to do certain things. If you take these waves at face value, they're really hard, but all in all, enjoyable. For me at least. You know, I like Dark Souls, so of course I'm gonna enjoy the hardest part in the Dark Souls of RuneScape. The severe emotional trauma I experienced here was in the build-up, followed by the eventual loss. For me and my gear going as quickly as I possibly could, it would take me at least an hour and a half to get to wave 60. Most of the time I'd get there, get 1 or 2 waves in, maybe even get to wave 63, and then meet my inevitable demise. The second I watch my character die, it means that I now need to invest another hour and a half of white knuckle sweaty ass gaming to get back to where I was 4 seconds ago. Inevitably, I'd get back there, die again, and do it again. Trust me, you don't really know pain until you've experienced this. It's not that the Inferno isn't even particularly enjoyable. Like I said earlier, I really do enjoy those later waves. However, they'd be a lot more fun if I didn't have to spend an hour and a half of my time to even try them again. In my experience, the secret sauce to beating these waves is chilling the fuck out. You need to quench the nerves and approach them as you would any other wave. For me, lo-fi music is king for achieving this zen state, and it really helped me push through the earlier waves as well and kept me both calm and sane. Believe me when I say I died in these waves many a time, sometimes even to really stupid mistakes, like I did in waves 64 and 65.
They're on the same tick. No way. No way. No, 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 no. There is no way this is happening. Bro, what the fuck is happening? Dude, how am I fucking this up so bad? No fucking shot.
But every now and then I found myself pushing through these waves. Thankfully, wave 66 is a complete cakewalk. Literally just 2 mages. Pray mage at the start of the wave, and you cannot die. The advice I'd give to Inferno goers who are at this point in their journey is stick to it, but don't push yourself so hard that you start hating RuneScape. I've heard many a story of people burning out in the Inferno, but for me, I prevented that by only attempting it 3 times a week. There were 3 times a week, I sent as many attempts as I felt like I could, and when I'd had enough, I had enough. I stopped and I did something else. I still really like RuneScape, I still think it's really fun, and I have an Infernal cape. Spoiler alert. Stick with it, you got it, just don't push yourself too hard. Oh, what the fuck? I logged out. Oh, the shot is ruined. Wave 67. It's Jad. Kill Jad. You've killed Jad before, kill Jad again. It's Jad, just kill Jad, it's fine. You got it. He has 5 healers, so that's something kind of different, but it's Jad. Just kill Jad. You can kill Jad. Wave 68. Holy fuck, there's 3 of them. Thankfully, the developers were nice and only gave him 3 healers each, but this wave is completely dictated by your mental state. The fight functions the exact same way as single Jad. I researched this. Single Jad attacks every 8 ticks. The only difference? Triple Jads will attack every 3 ticks. So it is almost 3 times as fast. You'll also need to track each Jad with your eyes as they attack, which also kind of takes some getting used to in my experience. At the start of the wave, start attacking 1. For me, I always attack the south one, either Blood Barrage or hit each healer once. Try and line them up the best you can so you're not tanking all of them or trap them behind him or run through him if you're a super gamer, and then kill him. Once you've killed 1, the fight is exactly the same, except now there's a bigger gap between one of the attacks. Rinse and repeat what you did 5 seconds ago and you're good. So this does sound kind of easy, but that brain of yours will be absolutely fried at this point. And focusing on Jad attacks for 10 minutes straight is quite difficult. I died here multiple times with 1 or 2 Jads alive, just because of brain farts, as you can see.
Fuck, I was hitting Jad more than I was hitting the healer, to be honest.
So the pro tip is to stay focused no matter what. Especially after you've already killed one Jad and you're cool with the timing, you are quite likely to die from just missing a prayer for no reason. Regardless, wave 68 never hurt me too much, mainly because I knew I could do it with relative ease if I had just focused. Once it's over, we're on to the big 6-9. Well, shit. We made it. The grand finale. The culmination of the skills the Inferno taught me, plus some other ones, rolled into a roughly 8-minute long fight after roughly 2 hours of white-knuckle, goblin-like, caffeine-induced gaming. Yeah, Jag actually know how to set the mood with this one. I remember my first suck fight quite well. Look at this dude. He is severely spooked.
What's up, fellas? Crazy shit's happened. I'm at Tzk.
This towering monstrosity bursts free from the rock, and he is just so unbelievably intimidating, coming after everything you've done up to this point. I promise you the nerves were wild. But to calm myself, I made sure I went in there with a game plan. Something that made Tzk a lot easier for me was the mindset. Too many people tell you to take your time, kill sets, wait for set spawns, and other similar things. For me, no monkey had the best advice. I told myself over and over again, you have beaten everything up to this point. The final hurdle is literally standing right in front of you. Kill him. Kill him fast. Kill him as fast as possible. He is the last barrier to your Infernal cape. Do not lose ticks. Do not waste time. Do not wait for sets. Do not use timers. Kill Tzk. It's pretty good advice, yeah. For those who don't know how the fight works, you run to each safe spot I have marked while following the shield around. When Tzk attacks, you move to the next safe spot. After one full rotation of the shield, that is from left to right or right to left, a set will spawn. A set is a major and ranger that spawn behind you and attack the shield, attempting to destroy it. You need to grab their aggro as quickly as possible. You can grab it by attacking them, and then kill the ranger as fast as you can. Leave the major alive and continue attacking Tzk until we get him to the first threshold. After that set spawns, an invisible timer will start that counts down from 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Once that timer hits 0, you get another set spawn. I'll refer to this from now on as the set timer. So, attack Tzk like you mean it, because we want to avoid as many sets as possible. When his health drops below 600, the set timer will be paused, and another 1 minute and 30 seconds is added to it. Now you can calm down a bit. Finish off the major, turn your prayers off, get your health back and your prayer back, and then go back to killing Tzk. When his health drops to around 520, you want to start preparing for the next phase. Overheal, restore, drink your bastion or range pot depending on what you brought, drink your stamina pot, attack him when you feel like you're ready, and when his health drops below 480, we get a Jad spawn behind us. This fucker just won't go away. Hit him and kill him. He's functionally the same as the guys you fought before, except now you have to run back and forth the arena. Make sure you're on your safe spots at the right time. I mean it. Make sure. It would just really suck if you were to die right now, so make sure you're on those safe spots. Don't get excited and run ahead. Don't get lazy and stay behind. Be on the safe spots at all times, because it would really suck if you died right now. Another thing to note is that when Jad spawns, the set timer will start counting down again. So now it's really a race against the clock. After Jad dies, make sure you pot back up to full health if you took any hits. Make sure your range is boosted and you have plenty of run energy, and keep hitting Tzk. Once his health drops below 240, healers will spawn. These healers are in the form of scrawny little spaghetti monsters across the edge of the field. Note that when the healers spawn, the safe spots are no longer safe spots, they are just spots. They don't work anymore because Jad's attack speed went up a couple ticks, which means you just have to stay with the shield as best you can. Hit each healer once to draw their aggro away from healing Tzk, and kill them all as quickly as possible. If you're getting hit, just drink brews. Trust me, drink the brews. It's not worth dying, just stop attacking and drink brews. Just be very, very careful not to die to those goofy fireball attacks, please. I came really close. After they're dead, you're on the home stretch, so don't make any mistakes. If a set spawns, kill it and go back to killing Tzk. There's no other funky mechanics, no other funky spawns, just make sure Tzk dies. So yeah, it's not easy, and not many people have done it, but it's possible. And I mean, if I did it, I'm sure any of you can. Although I must admit, I did train heavily for the Zuk fight. There's a simulator on the internet that is absolutely amazing. It's a perfect one-to-one of the fight, and you can even change your gear to match what you're using in the actual game. I've linked the simulator in my description, so feel free to use it. I think you'll find it very handy. Because of that simulator, it only took Zuk 2 attempts for me, thankfully. But I cannot begin to describe the feeling. So much relief, joy, validation. I'm gonna let the final 2 to 3 minutes of my time in the Inferno play out and a bit of my reaction afterwards. I'm gonna cut through it so there's not too much silence, but I just want you to feel what I was feeling in that moment. I streamed it on Twitch. Feel free to follow me. Katevskin. Maybe we'll have some of these experiences together in the future. A bit of an unorthodox method there, but fuck, we did it. Holy shit. All right. Oh, someone's got a timer going? Dude, thank you. What the fuck? Oh my god. Oh, Jesus Christ. That is the worst thing that could have happened. All right. So one at a time. All right. Unless I do something really stupid. I can't believe the fucker hit me for an 100, dude. What a dirtbag. Holy shit. I'm really not reading chat. I know this is the easy part, but fuck. It doesn't feel easy because there is so much emotion happening in my body currently. Oh my god. Oh my god, that was the worst time to click. No way. No fucking way. No fucking shot. No fucking way. No fucking way, dude. I'm the guy with an infernal cape. No, you're nuts, bro. Dude, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't believe I took an 100. I took an 100. The fucking got it. It's been 2 months. 2 months.